Hi everyone, this tutorial is for those of you that have created maybe an animation that is quite complex and then you realize that the timing of the animation is off. It was an issue that was brought up to me by a student, and their concern was that they made an animation that was again with a lot going on, and they realized that they have only 80 frames in the animation, such as the file that I have opened and created here. 80 frames is 3 seconds, a little bit more than 3 seconds of animation. So how can you then adjust this timing? How can you stretch or maybe compress the time of your animation without having to do all the keyframes again, one by one? And so in this scene, as you can see, I have different type of animation. So I have the red sphere, which is moving in a straight line, the yellow sphere, which is zigzagging and therefore has more keyframes, and this blue element, elongated elements, that is animating along a motion path. Now the motion path, as you can see, is set up to 80 frames, and the red sphere has one keyframe at the beginning and another one at the end, and the other one has several along the way. So it is actually surprisingly easy if you want to change the timing of your entire scene. The thing that is important to understand though is that it will work only for those elements who are animated, which are animated with keyframes. So therefore this element which is animated through a motion path, I will have to adjust it differently. And if you're making animations connecting to an end physics simulation, such as end particles or end cloth, you will have to change the timing of your animation using a different method, such as changing the emitter or changing the scale of the nucleus and so forth. So this is to show you how you will adjust an animation that has keyframes and a motion path. Okay, so the first things that I want to do, I want to add to my scene the numbers of frames that I want to actually have at the end. So let's say that we want to have a 600 frames animation scene. Okay, so now I have 600, and I can change this to see the entire 600. All right, I have 600, and if I play that now, I can see that I have, for the first 80 frames, I have an animation, and the rest there is nothing is animated. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to select an editor under Windows, Animation Editors, Time Editor. So select that. There it is. Now what I want to do, I want to select those elements that I know contains keyframes, and I want to change the timing of. Okay, so I have these two spheres because these are the ones that are keyframes, and these are the ones that are going to be affected by what I'm going to do here. Now I'm going to go to File in my time editor, and I'm going to say Import Animation from Scene Selection. Okay, when I've done that, you can see I have here my 600 frames and my animation clip. That's what it's called. I can also open it, and I can see that I have different elements at different keyframes. Let me open it up. so that you can sphere. I have the sphere 1 and sphere 2, the keyframes that you can see here in these red vertical lines, and you can see that is 80 frames of it. Okay, so what I can do, I can select this track, that's how it's called, this track animation, which again contains 2 objects in this case with several keyframes, select it, and then go to Edit and Edit Scale. So what you're changing the scale of time, basically. That's a little bit strange to think about the concept that way, but that's how you should think about it, is the scale of time. So then you're gonna select the end, you're gonna grab at the end of your track, and then you're gonna stretch it. Like in my case, I'm gonna stretch it up to 600. So I am actually making this 758% longer. So I'm gonna release it. Okay, and now I'm gonna put it here. Now when I play it, you will see that my 2 spheres are moving much slower, and so they have reconfigured all their keyframes to match the length, the new length of the animation, which is 600 frames. So it's sort of a parametric stretching, if you want to think it that way. Now I still have my motion path going faster at 80 frames, so I'm gonna stop it, and that's very easy to adjust, as you remember. So you select the 80 at the end, you click on the number, and then open the attribute editor, and in the position marker attribute time 80, you change that to 600. It doesn't show up right away, but then when you get out of it and you reselect it again, you will see now it's a 600. So now I can close this, I can play it, and as you can see, I have modified the length of my animation path, and I have modified the length of my animation as a whole. Again, we're gonna talk more in details about how to use tracks and how to use the time editor, but for now the only things you need to know is that you can almost capture your animation, the different objects in your scenes and all the keyframes into these animation tracks, and these animation tracks are behaving like they were one unified object that then you can stretch or you can compress in order to adjust the time of it. Alright, I hope this was a useful tutorial, and thank you for your attention.